vixen and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air, what a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time, it's a swell time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and mingle in the jingling beat. That's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell rock. Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone's dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Hey! You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone's dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way.
This podcast features a subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's the last Thursday of the year, like Christmas lights on a pecan tree in Helsinki, I'm finna nut holiday style. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the last episode of 2024 for the I'm No Joe podcast, your show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got my favorite elves here with me to shit up and shenanigan away the holidays for you, bringing you the best of 2024. We're winding it all up. But before we get into all that fun and fuckery, first off, gentlemen, how the hell you doing over there?
Pleased. The year is over, and hopefully the UFC is done with the fuckery that they've tried to pull this year.
Hopefully.
It's funny, man. They're not done. We know that. They'll never stop. But I'm happy we're at the holiday season. It's good fucking times, man. I like it when that cold sets in. I don't care for the Christmas music necessarily, but you know, the good fucking vibes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
could
I'm
use a
definitely on
break.
board. Yeah,
As
no
much
shit.
as I hate missing fights, we could use a little break.
Yeah, the couple week break we've got coming up after this show is definitely much overdue, and will be taken advantage by all of us. I promise you that much. So that being said, best of show though this may be, we do still have a little bit of news and recent events, so we're going to kick things off here the way that we usually do. Bonus show though this might be, a little bit of news and recent events, a couple of interesting fight announcements that have shaken down the MMA pipeline since we talked to you folks last week. Just a couple to run down real quick, but they're all fairly important here, at least in my opinion. All UFC announcements, all for early 2024. Starting things off, February 1st will be UFC Saudi Arabia, and they've been hinting at that card, but they haven't really told us a whole lot about it. Well, we got the main and co-main event for UFC Saudi Arabia announced this week from the horse's mouth itself. Dana gave us the confirmation. The co-main event for UFC Saudi will be Michael Venom Page MVP taking on Shara Bullet Nurmagomedov. That's a hell of a name. The main event, though, is the real big one. Nasruddin Imavov versus Israel Adesanya. The first time Israel Adesanya has been in a non-title fight in the UFC in, I believe, 8 years now. It's the first time in 13 fights, if that makes a difference. His last 12 fights in a row have all been title fights. So that's going to tell us a whole lot about what Izzy still got going for him right now and where we can expect to see him going forward for damn sure. On the other side of that, the following week, UFC 312 going down in Sydney, Australia is starting to get loaded out, and they are putting the locals on the card. The first one they announced was Tom Nolan fighting at home, taking on Slava Claus. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And then the other one that they announced just this afternoon, Jack Jenkins fighting at home, taking on Gabriel Santos. That's going to be a great fucking fight. I can't wait to see that one as well. But Sydney's getting stacked out. They're starting to announce it. And then the last one that they announced was for the following week, UFC Vegas 101, the 101st show from the Apex in Las Vegas, has officially got its main event announced, and it is none other than Jared Cannonier versus Buff Obama himself, Gregory Rodriguez. That has got all sorts of interesting fucking contention written all over it here, but that is the fight announcements that we have got for this week. You gentlemen have anything in the news that I might have missed?
Nope, I haven't even been watching the news this week because we're at the end of the year and I'm just going to let it all come.
I understand. All right. So that being said, because I forget every goddamn week, and this is the last show of 2024, we're doing it right up front because, yes, even though the UFC is done for the year, oh, hang on, we got an error from OBS here. Nope, it's from YouTube. But the show seems to be fine on the TV, so I don't know what the error is. Okay, anyways, just because the UFC is done for the year does not mean that the rest of combat sports is done for the year. As you might have guessed it, kicking things off bright and early tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. One Friday fights because they're on the other side of the planet. This is another one of those true mixed martial arts cards. They have got 4 kickboxing matches and 8 Muay Thai in 4-ounce MMA gloves. So this is another one of those. The hardcores will know a couple on here. Casuals probably aren't going to know anybody, but if you need punchy kiki with your breakfast tomorrow morning, one's got you covered. Kicking off a little closer to lunchtime tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Standard Time, KSW 101 from over in France. This is another one of those European UFC feeder type organizations. Generally, when people get to the championship level or get on a good winning streak run over there, they generally get the phone call from the UFC. This one, there is a couple here that the hardcores are going to recognize, a couple of former UFCs, a couple of contenders and former circuits that excuse me, will be recognizable by the hardcore. Casuals probably aren't going to know anybody, but if you want to see somebody get punched in the face while you're having your sandwich for lunch, KSW's got you covered tomorrow. That being said, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Standard Time, the run back in boxing that folks have been waiting for. Usyk versus Fury 2 from over in Saudi Arabia. This time they're putting it on at a time that the American audience can actually watch instead of it being in the middle of the night. Not that I think the fight's going to be that much different, but at least this time people will get to see it in real time. Definitely worth keeping an eye out, at least for the replay. That being said, there are 2 more cards a little further out that we're not going to see you guys again before. I want to let you know about. The first one is Octagon from over in Czech Republic, another European feeder organization. They've got a show going on next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, the 29th, kicking off noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on that Sunday. Again, hardcores are going to know a couple, casuals will probably know a few, but it's fights to hold you over during the break time. And then the last one that I would be remiss if I didn't mention here, they do it every fucking year. They're doing it again this year. Ryzen number 49 going on New Year's Eve, kicking off at 12 a.m. midnight Eastern on Tuesday, New Year's Eve. So it would be technically New Year's Eve for the rest of us in Central and further beyond. But this card has some names that most folks are going to recognize. Hardcores are going to know most of this roster. Casuals will know a third, maybe even a half of this roster, but they generally do it real big for the New Year's Eve show over in Ryzen. That being said, this is the best of 2024. So we have got a couple of categories here that we have all taken our peepers and ran back down the roster of UFC 2024 events to see what stood out to us over all of the insanity that was, I believe, the 43 events they put on this year. There was quite a bit. So before we get into the individual categories here, because we all do our own individual segments here, we're going to bring you the individual pieces best of 2024. So because I generally kick the show off with the news and recent events, I'm going to bring you what I feel is the biggest news story of 2024 in terms of the UFC and combat sports in general. If you've been paying attention for any amount of time to this show, to UFC, to combat sports in general, to MMA specifically in 2024, you should probably know what we're going to talk about here. And it is absolutely the low-hanging fruit, but it is absolutely the biggest news story in 2024. And that is the potential end of at least one half of the UFC antitrust lawsuit, the Kung Lee section of the antitrust lawsuit. This lawsuit has literally been a decade in the making, has some of the most notable fighters in the combat sports world attached to it, and they basically tried to shoo it away with pennies last year, and luckily the judge shot that down. This time around, they came back and threw a settlement that was more for just the Kung Lee lawsuit than they had proposed to try and settle both lawsuits previously, plus some. And this is a clear differentiation and a separation of the two antitrust lawsuit cases. This one is potentially, if we get the all clear and paperwork starts moving in 2025, because everything has been preliminarily approved, if everything gets going, this will be the section of the lawsuit and the portion of the story that will get the fighters who are reaching out publicly because they're in such a bad position the help that they are literally asking for. This isn't going to fix everything. This isn't going to put everything right, but this could potentially fix the struggles of a lot of people who help make combat sports what it is today that they should have had a long fucking time ago. It's not a guarantee. It's not going to be a magic wand that waves and fixes everything, but this is potentially the biggest story in combat sports. And the fact that we've got at least half of that case going to potential fruition here is, in my opinion, absolutely the biggest story of 2024 here. Now, whether 2025 comes around to bite us in the ass and make us look like fools for getting hope, we'll see. It's still the UFC we're talking about, so there's always that potential. But at least as of right now, the Kung Lee antitrust lawsuit and the fighters who have been hurting the most are potentially getting taken care of. Again, it's still the UFC, so we'll have to keep an eye on it, but fingers fucking crossed, these guys all deserve what they're going to get and tons more. That being said, though, if you watch the show, you would know that us old heads sometimes develop our fucking blinders for how we like to watch shit, what we like to watch, when we like to watch it. But luckily for us, we've got ourselves a young fella here who helps keep us abreast of all the upcoming fun and the upcoming names to be names. We've got the best of 2024's cans and contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So I do have honorable mentions here, but I actually have my solid choices. So for the can of the year on my end, the honorable mention here is Mickey Gall. And honorable mention because I don't know if he's going to get another fucking fight. He isn't lined up for a fight or any of that, but the dude should have been out of the UFC a while ago. And somehow he fought, I think, twice this year and lost both times. He got his ass kicked both times. And he's not a very good fighter, but, for whatever reason, she keeps bringing him back. I know you need some people to knock around, but it's just pretty bad. So, but the real choice, Basil Hafez. And I put this guy as my can of the year because he has now lost 3 fights in a row since he got in the UFC. The UFC has touted this guy as one of their big prospects. I think he's from Egypt, right? I think that's part of why. But he's not a very good fighter at all. He seems like a jackass in the sense of a personality on top of it. The dude's had a few chances already. He's shown that he's shit, and he's getting another chance. He's got a fight early on in the year here, so that's why I put him on the list here. He should be out the door, should have been out the door, but he's still getting another chance. He's getting touted up still. Like they're still giving him good fights. Like I can't remember who he's fucking fighting, but it's like he's not fighting a can necessarily. I didn't think from what I remember. That's my bad on that. I can't remember who he's fighting. Contender of the fucking year. My honorable mention because he still is young and got some work to do to get towards the rankings, right? But he's such a prospect and so exciting so far. I'll continue to talk about him, every time I can. Peyton Talbot. He's my honorable mention for contender of the year. That kid is something special. I'm excited to see what he continues to do. Getting Hani Barcelos here in fucking January. That's going to be fucking fun to see how he does. That's the biggest test of his career at this point. Hani Barcelos is a veteran of the UFC. That's the best we can say at this point. I mean, he's on the back end of his career, but still might be a tough fight for Peyton. And we'll see how he does with it. And, he continues to work his way up slightly. So the real contender of the year for me, though, might surprise some people, but the dude's been laying people the fuck out. He's worked his way up towards the rankings, and I'm excited to see what he does next year. Carlos Prates. He's my contender of the year. That dude is something fucking special. I mean, I love him. The fucking personality, the fucking trying to take care of his family and shit, the fucking having the smoke, he's just a badass, villain character. He don't give a fuck about nothing. Just come in there, whoop somebody's ass, knock motherfuckers out, and go have his fucking smoke after the fact and just get back to life, right? And, humble blue collar dude taking care of his family, going in there, knocking dudes out. It's been special so far. I'm excited to see what he does next year. if you boys have your own can and contender of the year, I'd love to hear it. If you fucking don't have one or the other, it's fine. No need to think too hard and struggle for it.
Surprisingly enough, when you told me about it before we started, I always think Carlos Trautas as that, but then I had an epiphany. I have a contender gym of the year. The Fighting Nerds. As a whole, that includes Carlos Trautas. He's part of that. Bajalio, fucking 2 wins, a KO and a decision this year. Fucking Jean Silva, fucking 3 KOs this year. That gym as a whole as the fucking contenders of the year. Period. Now, I'm going to take low-hanging fruit here and say this is a carryover from last year. Worst can of the year, Colby fucking Covington. Getting undeserved fights that he shouldn't be getting and getting his ass whipped in every fucking one of them over the last 2 years. So yes, it's a carryover, but the point still stands. He's probably the best fucking can in the UFC. I'll say it that way.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely ironic that you both mentioned those, because when we were talking about this earlier, the first person that came to my mind for fucking contender of the year was John Silva. Like, I don't like that dude. I don't like his personality, but what he's done in this cage this year cannot fucking be denied. He walks in, he walks forward, and he puts motherfuckers down, and he came out of nowhere to do it. So he's another one, like you guys mentioned, from the Fighting Nerds that has just showed up, kicked ass, and taken names.
Excited to see what he does at the start of next year. He's fighting Belsic
I was gonna
Bogdasar.
say he's getting fucking milky, so he's getting Milky Baghdad Sharky Man, and I'm stoked to see that fucking fight. I love Belsic, man. He's been one of my favorites for a long fucking time. But I think if I have to put the hammer down and make a firm decision here, I think both unpopular maybe, but my can of the year would be Derek Lewis, because we all know what he's capable of. We've seen the potential that he's got, and we have watched him just absolutely fucking phone it in 2024 and coast on fucking, comfort that he has built up from the my balls is hot era. And I honestly don't know if we're ever going to see Derek Lewis back in any kind of real ranked, real fight for him at this point in his career again, because he seems happy to be taking on the nobodies and the fucking contender series guys that the UFC keeps throwing at him. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he doesn't, but he doesn't really seem to have the ambition anymore. He doesn't seem to have that drive. He's, okay being a dude that they call in once every 6 months to beat up a nobody and then ride back off into the fucking shadows. It's not what I think any of us thought the Black Beast was going to fucking do, but this year has been pretty fucking eye-opening for me in terms of what he seems to have left.
Well, I can agree with that, because I think that all started the second he took that title fight on short notice, knowing he shouldn't have.
Right after
That's when we started to see that downward spiral of not the same Black Beast. Don't get me wrong, he's the Black Beast when he wins. You can tell, because he's still fucking murdering people, but he doesn't seem to have that same drive. You're 100% spot on there.
Yeah, and it's sad because I'm a Black Beast fan. I fucking think Derek Lewis is hilarious. I think he's a damn good fighter with a lot of fucking potential, but at this point, he genuinely seems like he's just coming in to cash checks and then ride back off into the fucking sunset.
Even if he never won the title, he might be a Hall of Famer because of fucking literally holding like the most knockouts in the UFC and shit like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not wrong. There's no disagreeing on my end. When a guy gets to being old, gets to the back end of their career, they need to be stepping away from it. He ain't doing what Cub Swanson fucking doing, and Cubby fucking said this might be the end for him, man. He's like, I kind of want to go out on top, man.
Cub Swanson's on the other side of that coin. He's still kicking ass and taking names, and they're like, "Are you done yet?" And he's like, "I don't know. I keep fucking winning." Like, that's what we all kind of thought Derek Lewis would be doing at this point, and he ain't.
Figured he'd still be floating at the top of the pile, but he ain't.
Fuck yeah, he would be. My contender of the year, though, is a little bit different. And in my opinion, by the general public and the vast majority of MMA journalists, at least, kind of overlooked. We talk quite a bit on this show about him, but my contender of the year for 2024 is Natty Ice, Natalia Silva. She has just had a killer last 2 years, and she beat the fucking brakes off of Jessica Andrade in peak fucking form this year to round out her final end of the fucking year, just to let motherfuckers know I'm not just coming, I'm taking out former fucking champs on my way up and making it look easy. I think Natty Ice is going to be a fucking problem in 2024.
And I can't disagree there. In terms of young ladies, I'd go Yasmin Lucinda too. She also fucking doing some good shit and climbing her way up.
Yasmin would absolutely be right up there with her. I agree. The only thing that's got Yasmin set back is that she took that loss a little rough. Understandably, but she took her loss a little rough.
And she
Natty
got
Ice is like,
limos though. She's got the big chant. Like the UFC is not letting. Like
Yeah.
they don't think she took a
they're
loss.
they're
That's
keeping
how
her
I
push
look
for
at it.
sure.
They're
Yeah.
still fucking keeping her up there.
I absolutely agree.
That's just another honorable mention. But appreciate you, boys.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So that'll bring us at the point where the only segment of the show that requires its own individual disclaimer. So if you will. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does offer you the option to go onto their site, make free accounts, and make fantasy style picks just like we do here on the show. And they even let you make groups. So we made one. It's called ImNoBookie or Group 965, however you need to find it. It is open to the public, and you are welcome to bring your holiday loving ass on in. Tell us who the fuck you are, and we will determine whether you get coal or candy canes in your stocking in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right. So we're going to cover a couple things here. One, last week's fuckery. Then two, I was going to give you the widest odds of the year that the UFC had, but we're going to change that up, and I'm going to tell you about it when we get to it. So first, let's hop into last week's, which was the UFC Fight Night, fucking end of the year. Covington, which was the obligatory Lambda slaughter for Joaquin Buckley. We knew that was fucking coming. That wasn't a surprise. Taking the top spot here this week, ND Boone. That would be Don and Donna's son, Nick. New to the group. Didn't get into the group in time to get into the wonderful last portion of the years, but took the top spot, 10 to 13 correct. Fucking knocked it out of the park with 655 points. Did fantastic. Wasn't too far off there. Was Meter sitting in that second place, biting at his heel, 9 to 13 with 630. So all he needed was one more win, and that would have been a tie. But you know, it just didn't happen out that way. Now there was a firefight at the bottom, and when I say a firefight, it was a fucking weird firefight. Because I'll tell you the scores. The scores were 440 and 455. I'll tell you what the correct picks were, 7 and 8. Now, if I'm telling you those, which one do you think gets the spot? The one with 8 picks correct or the one with 7? You would think the 8. But no, that's not the case. Because there was a perfect score in there. Don squeaked out with a perfect score, 7 correct of 13 at 455. Vindog Booty Hog gets 8 correct, and a great fucking number considering there was only 13 fights on the card. But because of that 150 fucking point perfect score that Don pulled, he managed to not trip over his dick. He managed to hand off that baton in the relay race and give it to Vindog. He dropped it, landed right on his ball sack, and then that rest was fucking history. Weird way to end the fucking year out, but still, credit to everyone. When and 7 picks are the worst that we did for this week, those are fantastic fucking numbers. I mean, everyone was well above the 500 mark this week. Well done. Pats on the back all around. That'll bring us into the last update of 2024 for the end of year contest going on here. Now, right now, as it stands, Donna is still leading the pack. She got 10 correct this week, but she just couldn't manage to get a decision or a perfect pick or a partial perfect to save her fucking life this week, which kind of saved a lot of us. She's still sitting in the top spot, sitting at 3,910. I gained 10 points on her this week. 10 fucking points. Sitting in the second spot at 3,605. Christian, not far behind me, 3,570. Meter, only 500 points off him at fucking 3,270. Vindog, even though he took the bottom spot this week, still not in the bottom spot of the Grand Prix. And that's something you like to see, considering he did get more picks correct. But he's not much ahead. He's at 2960, whereas Don is sitting at 2920, only 40 points off. So this week, Don made a little push on him. Granted, they've got a long way to go with, I think, 4 fucking events left in the Grand Prix. Grand Prix ends on February 8th at UFC 312. That is the last fucking event for this Grand Prix, and then there'll be a new one coming into the new year finally. So, that's a lot of ground for them to make up in 4 fucking events, but it's possible. Strange things happen. People could shit the bed, but it's still anybody's ball game going into these next 4 events. All we got to do is have a good week, and somebody else have a bad one, and bam, rankings change. Now, here's where we're going to throw the curveball. If you haven't joined fucking Tapology yet, go fucking do it. It's free. Come over, join our group. It's also free. 2 freebies at the same time. You don't have to tell us who you are, but if you want to let us know who you are so you can get in on the action, please, by all means, do so. You'll get a pat on the back when you do good. I'm also going to run your face through the fucking mud when you do terribly. I do it to myself even. It doesn't matter. Nobody is safe. And nobody's safe from saying, attaboy, good job. Now, here's my curveball with Tapology. Contender of the year. I'm not going to do can because as much as I like to run people through the mud, that's kind of a dick move. But contender of the year is the newcomer, ND Boone, Nick Boone. He's been fucking doing fantastic since he's gotten into the group. He's not always in the top spot, but he's always pretty close up there. We need to watch our backs because I'm telling you, coming into the next Grand Prix, when he gets into that, we're gonna have some fighting on our hands, and it's gonna be a good time. So just want to put that out there as the newcomer to the group. I didn't want to say contender, but based on what he's done since he's joined the group this year, he's definitely up there with us. He knows what he's doing, and I appreciate that. So if you think you know what you're doing, you want to come in, by all means do so. It's a good time. We're going to hold you accountable for what you do, good or bad. Now, going on to what was going to be the widest odds of the year, I decided to change it up because we look at the odds every week. And I'm always saying, hey, you can bet on this. I wouldn't necessarily bet the house. Or this is one that I think you should bet on and you can make some money. What we're going to give you is the biggest upsets, both male and female fights of the year, based on odds, on the widest odds that there were available at the time. I'm going to start with the females because this one was a fucking throw off for everybody. Kong Wang and Gabriela Fernandez. That was the largest upset of the year. Gabriela Fernandez came in as a plus 625 underdog, and Kong came in as a minus 950 favorite and loses round 2 via submission. Biggest upset of the year for the women's division. All women across the UFC. Period.
I think they said during that broadcast before the fight started that there were some places before the fight actually began that had live odds for Kong Wang at something like minus 2,300 before the fight actually started and they closed out. And then she got yoked the fuck out.
Yeah, and nobody saw that coming because Kong Wang came in fucking like a rocket. That kind of derailed her a little bit, to be honest. I think that was a mental fucking lapse in what happened there. She overlooked her. That's I'm gonna go ahead and say this now. I think next year we're talking about Kong in a different light as being one of those contenders hopping up into the rankings quick, fast, in a hurry. But that is the biggest upset for women this year, 2024. Just wanted to put that out there so everybody knows, because that's a fucking crazy turn of events there. Now, the next one, I think a lot of us saw coming eventually on the male side, and that was Javid Bashrat, the Afghani, and Alman Zahabi. We knew Bashrat eventually was going to take a fucking L. It was just a matter of time. He came into that fight as a minus 900 favorite over a plus 575 in Zahabi. But, you know, the Zahabi name goes a long fucking way. I'm just saying. You might be familiar with a guy by the name of Faraz. You know, I'm just saying. It's there. So, crazy fucking upset as far as the odds are concerned. But, to be fair, the Afghani, I think a lot of what he was running on was that whole I can't be beat thing. Granted, he did lose via decision. He didn't get knocked out. He didn't get submitted. It was just a decision loss. But still, that's a huge fucking upset. And the widest margin upset that there was this year as far as the men are concerned. So just know that when I'm giving you breakdowns on odds, I'm looking at BetMGM all the time. Those are just odds. When we say everybody has a puncher's chance or a grappler's chance, whatever the case may be, we fucking mean it. It's fighting. Anything can happen. You don't know. So I don't necessarily condone gambling, but if you're going to do it responsibly and make sure you understand that just because somebody's a huge favorite doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. A lot of times it does, but there are these fucking exceptions like this where they're massive fucking upsets as far as the odds are concerned. And depending on where you're throwing down money at, you could lose a lot of money really fucking quick. So just be aware of that. Thought that'd be a little fun twist versus just who had the widest odds, because that seemed a little bit boring to me. So, you know, let's see who has the biggest fucking upsets of the year. It's way more fun.
Absolutely. And like you were saying, the thing coming into that fucking Zahabi fight, Ayman Zahabi was talking openly during that media week that he wasn't sure how much longer he was going to keep fighting, that very well could be his last fight if he lost in devastating fashion, that he would probably just hang it up. And then he came in and took Basharat behind the fucking woodshed and gave it to him.
It's fucking weird how that stuff works out sometimes.
Yeah, crazy how things shake loose. So that'll bring us to our actual best of 2024 here. So we're not going to keep you guys all night. We're just going to keep it fairly simple here. Kind of the most popular, I guess you would say, things to award for 2024 here. So we will start with submission of the year. There was some fucking spectacular submissions in 2024. There are some interesting ones here on the list, but I've got one that I think pretty much stands out the most here. I do have an honorable mention for submission of the year, and it's not one that was the most popular or that was like the craziest type of submission, but it was one of the most important ones of the year. My honorable mention submission of the year for this year was Dricus Duplessis over Israel Adesanya. Just straight up rear naked choke that got the fucking job done. I don't think anybody watching that fucking fight, leading into that fight, had Dricus winning it by submission, let alone winning it to begin with. And the fact that he pulled it off was something. I will fucking tip my hat. I don't like the dude, but we say it all the fucking time on the show. Credit where credit is due. He choked Izzy and got him to fucking tap. Kept the goddamn belt. So tip of the cap to Drickus. But the one that I think was the biggest, the one that was the most important, the most dominant in 2024 for me was UFC Saudi Arabia, Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. Not only did Khamzat get Whittaker to tap, he broke his jaw in 3 places and shoved the entirety of his front teeth floating loosely into his mouth, broke them out of his gums. We've seen dudes get neck cranked and face cranked before. When Alexa did it to Valentina, she left a fucking white streak across Valentina's face from where her arm was tight, cranking down. I've never seen anybody break a jaw in 3 places and shove fucking teeth backwards into the mouth like Khamzat did to Robert Whittaker.
We did talk about some serious fucking goddamn squeeze. Because that's a lot of fucking squeeze to be able to break a jaw coming in this way.
Yeah.
That's serious. Because he wasn't punching him. He was just fucking
just cranking in. Yeah.
crank the shit out of it. Yeah. That one definitely up there. Definitely up there. Oh. It seems like Christian's over there. I will take the run at this. My honorable mention, not because of the type of submission it was, but in the fashion that it happened. Bobby Green and Patty Pimblett. The way that Patty Pimblett dog walked Bobby Green to where it forced Bobby Green to take down Pimblett, knowing that he's dangerous off of his back, and catches him in a triangle. He absolutely dog walked him, which nobody thought what he was going to do on the feet. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did. He did it on the feet in order to get it there. So that gets an honorable mention from me, just because of the events that led to the submission. Now, as far as my submission of the year is concerned, I actually am going an opposite route on this. We're going mid 2024. We're going to the Makhachev Poirier fight. Makhachev gets a Darce choke after slinging one of the nastiest takedowns I've ever seen in my life. He swung that motherfucker around by the legs so goddamn fast, he didn't know where he was. Immediate Darce choke, fucking put his ass to sleep, game over. That was probably one of the most fucking amazing setups to a submission that I've seen all year. And it was the swinging of the leg. That just fucking tops the charts for me.
So that was going to be my honorable mention. Was the Islam submission. Just because I felt like it'd be slightly low hanging fruit because it was one of the best of the year. But I mean, you can't, I guess it's opinions, and it is like one of the best submissions of the year. But Vincent was talking to me about one. Like, he loves Chris Duncan, right? He's Scottish, fucking, so Chris Duncan, Scott too. You know, he roots for him. He roots for all the Scots. But Duncan earlier this year against Balaji Oki, man, that was badass. Fucking, he had him choked the fuck out. Dude was asleep, and he wasn't letting go. Chris Duncan sitting there after he had been whooping dude's ass, and then he realizes he's asleep, but he's still choking him out, yelling and screaming at the ref. He's like, "You gonna fucking stop it? I'm gonna kill the dude. You stop it or not? Like, it's up to you." That was a fucking badass moment. Vincent threw that up. He's like, "That would be my submission of the year, so I'll take his."
I like that because that was a fucking really crazy moment this year.
Fuck, yes, it was. He dumped Balaji into a fucking pile when he let him go.
And that fucking ref did a piss poor job.
Yeah, he wasn't paying attention. That dude should be fined. I think we're at a point now where when fights go to a fucking horrible stoppage like that and the fighter is pointing out to the referee the guy he's holding has been unconscious for seconds now and you still can't even check, I think it's time to start finding refs for shit like that.
Oh, I want to throw one other honorable mention in there just because it was another fucking crank. Jim Miller and Gabriel Benitez. Jim Miller win fucking face crank. Dude still got it. We're big A10 fans. I'm just saying. So he's got to be thrown in there as a fucking honorable mention.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely okay with that for sure. Good round. Good round for sure. Definitely good subs all the way. So the next one we'll run through here is going to be knockout of the year. There were some big fucking knockouts in 2024. Some of them bigger than others. Mine is probably going to be one that not a lot of folks even saw just because of when it actually happened. I was beyond fucking stoked. I put up a fucking short when it happened. It's one of the best performing YouTube shorts that I put up this year, which I was also very fucking happy to see. And that was the UFC Macau 5 a.m. card. And it was one of the Road to UFC finalists by the name of Shi Ming. And Shi Ming is not just an excellent MMA prospect coming into the UFC. She's a full-time doctor. She is a practicing medical doctor whose family doesn't even know that she does MMA. They thought that she was at a fucking karate tournament doing performative kata when she was at the UFC Macau event, earning her fucking ticket to the UFC in one of the most devastating fucking head kick knockouts you will ever see in your goddamn life. It took them almost 15 minutes to resuscitate the woman that she knocked out. And when they finally woke her up, she had no fucking clue where she was or what was happening. And they had to take her immediately to the fucking hospital to get fucking scanned. She was cleared. Everything was okay. And Shi Ming was noticeably on pins and needles and nervous for the opponent when it happened. But holy shit, this tiny little girl laid out one of the smoothest and coldest fucking head kick knockouts in 2024, frankly, ever. It was fucking glorious. And if you did not see it, I absolutely encourage you, when we're done with this, just hop over into that fucking next YouTube tab and go look up Shi Ming, SHIMING. I guarantee you'll find that knockout and your jaw will hit your fucking lap.
You know, the craziest thing about that to me is there is a doctor's oath. I'm medically trained. I worked as an X-ray and CAT scan tech for almost a decade. There's a doctor's oath that is do no harm. So she's kind of playing both sides of the fence there. Kind of going, I don't know how well that holds with your do no harm oath, but you know, I guess technically you're not practicing medicine in there when you're fighting. So, But I just find that as a one crazy thing. But yeah, that was one of the most savage fucking knockouts of the year. Period.
Fuck yeah.
Now, since we're going in this round robin thing here, my honorable mention goes to a video game knockout. That's UFC 308, Shara Bullet and Armin Petrosian. Fucking Magomedov with the double spinning back fist. That shit looked like it was out of a fucking video game. I'm like, that shit you see in fucking Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. You don't see that in the real fucking world. But apparently you smash all the buttons and it still fucking works.
And it was clean too. It was, you can watch that slow-mo. He nailed both of them precisely. That was
he went, oh, you're going that way? Nope, you're going back this way. And that was all she fucking wrote. Petrosian didn't know where the fuck he was at. His head spun one direction, then spun back the other. Surprised that fucking thing didn't pop off with something happening that fast. It was very fucking impressive. So I thought that was well worth the fucking honorable mention. But
it won him co-main event or UFC Saudi Arabia coming up.
Yeah.
Got
And
the MVP fight.
it did, which is why he's got another fucking big fight set up now for a big name at this point is what I'll call it. It's a big name fight. And to be honest, it ought to be interesting because they're both strikers and neither one of those fuckers are going to want to take it to the ground.
Yep.
Although we've seen weird shit happen. But either way, my fucking knockout of the year actually goes to I'll say I'm picking this because of the controversy that goes with it. Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. Right after Jamal Hill nut shots him, and he's like, I'm good, even though they're coming in to stop the fight, you clearly see Hill kind of relax for a second, thinking the fight's going to stop. But Pereira's still moving forward. Left hook. Fucking lights out. So I still think that's got to go at the top of my list purely because of the controversy that is there. But it was a great knockout either way. But yeah, there was definitely a little controversy to be had. I could take the lower hanging fruit and just go like this, but I'm not going to, even though this was the greatest knockout of the fucking year. But I'm going with something that had a little more impact on the sport, in my opinion, because there was that controversy where now if a ref steps in, they need to step in.
Right. Well, that and Alex fucked him up so bad that even, almost a full calendar fucking year later now on the other end of 2024, bringing 25 in, Jamal Hill went to the UFC PI and was still talking shit to fucking Pereira, who, to his credit, literally grabbed a pair of boxing gloves right then and there and threw them to Jamal Hill and said, if you ain't done yet, there's a fucking cage and we can do it right now. And Jamal was like, nah, threw the gloves down and just kept talking shit. So,
of course, he don't want that smoke.
No, he knows what that feels like. He wants the appearance of it, but we can tell he don't actually want that fucking smoke again.
No. But yeah, that definitely had a huge impact to me, namely because of the controversy that comes with it. I'm not saying it wasn't fucking legitimate, because it was legitimate. If the fighter waves the guy off and he wasn't hurt from that nut shot, let him roll. But that also comes to that, they tell him at the beginning of every fight, defend yourself at all times.
Yep.
You let your guard down. And you got rocked for it.
So for me, honorable mention will be the UFC 300. Obviously, fucking Max. It was one of the best knockouts in history, honestly, not just this year, but the one I'm going to take is fucking Tapuria knocking Max out. This is just as crazy. Obviously, I was rooting for Max, thought, yeah, maybe he could win. Didn't actually think Kid was going to knock him out because nobody's ever really hurt Max, in all honesty. It seemed like he kind of got hurt, halfway dropped in the Gaethje fight. But other than that, his whole career, he's always stayed solid. But the Kid also knocked Volkanovski out earlier in the year before that. As much as I haven't liked him and shit, like he's proven at this point, he is the next fucking Conor McGregor. He is the fucking Spanish. He's calling that shit out, saying he's going to knock these fucking dudes that we've already held up as legends. He's just knocking them out like it's no problem. Now he's fucking trying to go up to lightweight. This motherfucker's already literally trying to do the same thing that Conor did. Conor literally fucking knocked a couple of the big dudes out at featherweight, like fought for the title a few times, then jumped up to lightweight to fight Eddie Alvarez. But he tried to get the double champ, so we'll see how that goes. But that's the knockout I gotta take. Hate the Kid, but it's no different than when Conor came up. Gotta give him the fucking credit, right, where it's due.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fun, but it was definitely one of the most impactful ones of the year, unfucking deniably, for sure. So that being said, that'll bring us around here. Let's go with our fighter of the year. We've got, obviously we'll do male and female because there's two sides to this fucking coin here. So we will start with the male. And excuse me, honorable mention. I've said before, I'll say it plenty again. I don't fucking like him. I don't like his personality. I don't like his fucking style. I don't like his smug fucking face. I would not mind if he caught a dolly, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon at this point. My honorable mention fighter of the year for the male side is Ilya Taporia. He's a little Spanish cunt, and I would love to backhand him like an insolent fucking child, but he's running shit and he's doing what he said he was going to do. So like I said, regardless of how I feel about somebody, credit where credit is due. So Ilya's doing his damn thing. But in my opinion, there's really only one guy who has encapsulated 2024 as the man of the fucking year in the UFC. And it's pretty easy for everybody, I think, to see it. And that's Shama himself, Poetan, Alex fucking Pereira. The dude has literally stepped in 3 times this year on short notice to save a fucking event, set history in the quickest fucking turnaround for title fights, and did so in spectacular fucking fashion, not taking, I would say he took less damage in any one of the fights that he was in individually than he did maybe all of last year. Like, he's improved that much noticeably, that he's not just knocking dudes out, he's doing it and taking less damage than we have seen him take in previous fights. Poetan's 2024 fighter of the year for me on the men's side.
That's hard to fucking argue. It really is hard to fucking argue that one, because he's my pick for fighter of the year as well. And for those same fucking reasons. 3 title defenses, 3 fucking knockouts, shortest turnaround time in fucking UFC title holder history. The dude is an absolute fucking animal. Now, my honorable mention, and this is purely on the reason of what I'll call a career resurgence. Hanato Money Moicano. He's came in fucking hot this year. 3 fucking wins, 2 knockouts, 1 decision, and he's calling his shots and fucking taking them out. The dude has had a fucking, well, for lack of better terms, he's had a money year.
Yeah.
And that's an honorable mention in my fucking book. The dude has done what he said he's going to do. And not to mention, he's got another big fucking fight that he called out and he wished it into fruition, getting Beneil Dariush coming up next fucking month. January 18th. I think that's the next card that we're watching is on that card, right? It's the second card of the year. That's right. Still, the dude had a great 2024. I have a feeling if he keeps the way he's going, we might be hearing little talks of him calling for a title shot after he beats Dariush. Well, I'll say if he beats Dariush, because Dariush is still a tall task, even though he's no longer holding the fucking belt.
Yeah, Benny's a tough ask for anybody, period.
So, honorable mention, Pereira. Same shit, like you guys said. You just don't want to fucking completely go that route. Go slightly different for the actual shit. You give the credit where it's due again on Taporia. To me, that's one of the next best fucking decisions in the sense of fighter of the year. You fucking knocked out Volkanovski to become champion, and then first title defense, you knock out Max Holloway. It's fucking pretty crazy. I would like to see the dumbass continue to defend the belt at featherweight, not go up to lightweight already. But even if it's a couple fights compared to Alex's few,
right?
Still give that kid credit.
I think that's why I had to put him in honorable mention and not actually give him fighter of the year, because yeah, knocking out Alex, I agree. It was controversial. Alex should not have come back as quickly as he did. All that aside, He said he was going to knock out Volkanovski. He knocked out Volkanovski. He said he was going to knock out Max Holloway. He got a TKO on Max Holloway. I don't call it a fucking knockout. He never went out. He was never out of it. The fight was stopped. That's a TKO in my fucking opinion, and I'll fight you about that. He TKO'd Max Holloway. But he came in and he did what he said he was going to do. My biggest problem was that after he finished with Max Holloway's business, he actually did an interview and said, I've cleared out this division. I'm done with all my business at 45. Time to start thinking about lightweight, and I'd like to start with Charles Oliveira. One title defense is not clearing out the division. I get that the Volkanovski fight was big. I get that the Max Holloway fight was big, but 2 fights to get the championship and then defend it does not count as clearing out a division in any fucking stretch of the imagination. He's doing good work, but you know. So that being said, we will go ahead.
I got one other honorable mention, not because of what he did for the year, but because of how he impacted the year. Dan 50K Ige coming on the shortest notice ever.
Badass.
Under 1 day notice. Getting a
4
fucking
hours.
massage.
4 hours. He was getting a fucking massage. 4 hours later,
And he somehow cleared it with the athletic commission and was fucking in the cage and put on a hell of a performance considering he fucking lost. He made it to where it looked like he could fucking win that fight.
Yeah.
But then again, he was fighting Diego Lopez, and well, Lopez is a fucking animal.
For sure. No, I absolutely agree. 50K is definitely deserving of the fucking honorable mention for damn sure. Because literally from fucking laying on a table, getting massaged, answering your phone 4 hours later, you're lacing up your gloves and saving the biggest fucking UFC pay-per-view in company fucking history and doing a goddamn convincing job of it. Yeah. No, 50K definitely gets an honorable mention. I will agree with that for sure. So with that, we will flip it over to the ladies' side of the thing. There were several big ladies fights this year. Not nearly as many as the guys had, but there were some fucking notable ones. It's going to sound weird, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't give a shit. My honorable mention for female fighter of the year is Raquel Pennington. Anyone who watched that fucking fight, aside from Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato, knows that she won that goddamn fight. She knows she won that fight. Juliana knows she won that fucking fight. And she held her fucking head up like a fucking champion and handled that bullshit fucking judge's decision like a fucking boss and said, we'll figure it out and we'll come back and we'll straighten things out and make it the way it's supposed to be. Fuck Juliana. She knows damn well she didn't win that fucking fight. And for her to say the stupid shit that she has done since then immediately ruled her out of getting that fucking nomination in my book. But my actual female fighter of the year, call it low-hanging fruit if you want. I don't give a flying fuck. For me, the female fighter of 2024 is Valentina Shevchenko. Not only did she patiently wait for Alexa Grasso to deal with all sorts of shenaniganry and injuries during 2024, but then she came back in and definitively took her fucking belt back. There's a reason the bullet is on top and has been for so fucking long. And she reminded motherfuckers this year she's coming back to fill a second belt with fucking rubies now.
I like where your head's at there. I can agree with the honorable mention there. Rocky definitely won that fucking fight. And even though judges are fucking blind, like a case of American Blind Justice, she took it like a fucking champ. Took it on the chin, moved on with her fucking life. Now, for me, my fucking, well, I'll say my honorable mention in this case is going to be Virna Jandiroba. She seems to have gotten herself back to what we thought the potential was in her. And she showed it this year, taking out Lupe Godinez. She took out fucking Amanda Lemos. She had a fucking good year. And she looked good doing it. I mean, her last fight against Lemos, she subbed Lemos. Former title challenger that she subbed. I'm just saying. She's back on track. So, in my opinion, she gets that. Because I'm not going to mention new hires to the UFC because fuck them. It's not worth my time. And to be honest, I'm going to take the lowest fucking hanging fruit here when I say fighter of the year, Natalia Silva for the fucking women. She's taking out former champs in Jessica Andrade, Viviana Araujo, she fucking walked through. Natalia Silva, she's fucking danger. She's the danger snake that you stay the fuck away from. Those girls are all on notice now. Female fighter of the year, in my opinion, bar none.
Definitely got to agree with you there, brother. For me, it's hard to take anybody else to be on the different side of things other than Manon. She fucking beat Rose Namajunas early on in the year and then beat Erin Blanchfield after that and set herself up with fight Valentina, the fucking meters pick for female fighter of the year. So I'm excited to see how that one shakes out, just because Manon actually maybe poses some threat on the feet, or at least could give us a good fight. I mean, she did well beating Rose Namajunas and Erin Blanchfield. It was impressive.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Her and Valentina coming up in 2025 is going to be very fucking interesting for damn sure. Manon has been on a hell of a fucking tear, so it's going to be interesting to see how those two clash up in this year. So that being said, that'll bring us to the last one that I have got here. Probably one of the most controversial topics, but the fight of the year of 43, I think it was, events, an average of 13 fights per card. There is more than a couple to pick from. But in the end, my honorable mention fight of the year is one that Christian mentioned earlier. And that's Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. Because goddamn, if that was not fucking action from start until literal fucking finish, and then it ends with a historic fucking knockout, one for the actual fucking record books in the ages to fucking foretell. But there was just one that I think was on par and maybe even just the ever so slightest bit just above that. And that wasn't necessarily because it was more exciting of a fight, but I think it was because no one saw this fight being as good as it ended up being. And that was Money Moicano versus Benoit Saint Denis. Everybody thought that it could have been a fun fight. We all talked about, this one's going to be one you're going to want to keep an eye on. And then it turned out to be an absolute fucking barn burner. BSD versus Money is my 2024 fight of the year.
That was a fucking hell of a barn burner, too. That was a fucking excellent fight. Now, yeah, we can all agree that Gaethje Holloway was a great fight. It wasn't as exciting as you would thought it was going to be, but it was the finish that made it what it was. That last fucking 30 seconds, the last 15, whatever the fuck it was that they just swung for the fences, that's what made that fight get honorable mention. It wasn't the fight as a whole. The fight as a whole was good, but it wasn't an oh my god. To be honest, my actual honorable mention was the Pereira Roundtree Jr. fight. Roundtree stayed in there way longer than he had any fucking business being in there. And he kept coming forward. He didn't stop. It wasn't that fight was a barn burner, but because of the way Roundtree presented himself and the heart that he showed, made that an honorable mention for me. When he came out of there, he looked like he went through a fucking meat grinder. He was beat the fuck up. And to his credit, took the loss like, man, fucking went on. Also, to Pereira's credit, beat the fucking brakes off of a surging Roundtree Jr., who had looked fucking fantastic up until that point. Oh, yeah. Honorable mention there. And I went outside the fucking box, in my own opinion, and what I thought was the most exciting fight of the year was also a fucking slight upset. In the Esteban Rivovic and fucking Daniel Zellhuber. They had Zellhuber coming in as a slight favorite in that fight. But that was one of the wildest fucking 3-round decisions you'll see. Those boys went to absolute fucking war, and we all won for it. MMA as a whole won for that. And yeah, you can call it low-hanging fruit if you want to. I don't think it is. That fight had no reason to be as good as it was. Not one fucking reason.
If I was going to give an honorable mention, I feel like it's got to be the same as Meteor. The UFC 300, fucking Max and Justin Gaethje. But I'm going to go with the Dustin and Islam fight for my fight of the year. It's just because, not just how it finished with the amazing fucking little ankle pick to trip Dustin up to get to the choke, but Dustin, like, we all felt that. We were hyped up. Dustin had the chance to get the win, unless the judges would have fucked something up. If he could have won that last round, got to the 5th round, won that last round, the Diamond was finally gonna fucking do it. And then to fucking beat Habib's prodigy after the losing to Habib, and just the way shit's worked out for him in his career. Every time he gets the title, he fucking gets choked the hell out. Finally felt like it was going to happen, so it was just that excitement and the build up on top of it. It was a hell of a fight. It was the toughest fight, in my opinion, Islam's had, even though Volkanovski took his ass 5 rounds. Dustin put him through hell. Islam had to work for that beyond belief, and it honestly, like, his skill led to it, but it was also kind of a lucky moment there for him to fucking get that finish at the end. It was definitely one of the best fights of the year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It was definitely one of the best ones of the year for damn sure. But that is what we have got. That is our best of 2024. I think you got a better opinion? Leave it down in the comments and we'll argue with you. We don't give a shit. That being said, that is all we have got for 2024. That wraps up the year for the I'm No Joe podcast. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone, whether you are watching this or listening to this. Either way, I don't give a shit. If you're paying attention to this stupid little fucking podcast that we do, we appreciate you. So I want to say first and foremost, thank you to the people who support this show. The other side of that coin, if you don't support this show, go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit. We're going to keep doing it whether you fucking like it or not. You can come here and you can hate watch it or you can ignore us. I don't give a fuck. We have a great time. We do a great fucking show and we're going to keep doing the goddamn show. Just wait till you see what we got up our sleeves for 2025. That being said, when we close things out around here on Thursday nights, that's not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning, I'm guessing, and pretty much every Friday morning that there's a Friday to be had, this guy, wait, no, he's over there too. This guy over here and his other half are going to drop their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over there on Spreaker.com. Links to the podcast and their socials and their very own channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, all down below. Go tell those fuckers happy holidays and tell them how awesome they are.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah, tomorrow morning we'll have the pod up, end of the year pod for ourselves, and take the fucking Christmas week off, and then try to do a prediction show and have a little fucking fun before we get to that first fight week of the year. So yeah, for the most part, keeping on schedule fucking every Friday. Fun doesn't fucking stop ever, man. Every Wednesday you got golf tee. You got to tune into the Foggy Fairway every Wednesday night around 9:30 over on Golf Tee Vape's YouTube channel. I think he's going to be taking the time off, no different than we are with this show, until we get on to the start of next year. But once he gets back into it after the little holiday break, every fucking Wednesday night, make sure you tune in to the brother show, especially if you're into the vapes and learn some new recipes and mixes. Always fucking show the brother some love with everything he does. All of his links to everything should be down in the description as well.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Now, since we do have an extended time off over here, when I say extended time, I mean, I think we got 3 or 4 weeks off, something like that. You're going to need something to do. In fact, you're going to need many things to do. Did you know that the meter does many things? Weird. Now, down below, there's a couple of links. Linktree / the meter does many things, and Linktree / I'm No Joe. That will take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do to fill the many moments in time that you need to fill until we come back in 3-4 weeks. I forget because, well, it's the holiday season and I've got other shit on my brain right now. But I don't forget is go click those fucking links. Get some time in. Enjoy it. We'll see you guys all next year. Because, you know, that's the best dadly thing I can say.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So, like the gentleman mentioned, all of the links for all of the goodies that we all get up to individually and collectively are all down below. You've got plenty of time in the off season here before we come back to fill your lives with all of that goodness, and there is plenty to be found. So until we see you again in 2025, first and foremost, there is no fucking excuse to drink and drive. Any cab company will offer you a free ride on Christmas or New Year's. Don't be fucking stupid. We want to see you all after the new year. So until next time, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made